gosh, Mercury retrograde is
Oh,
officially over.
yes.
Well, sort of. We're going to talk
Yeah,
about the
exactly.
kind
Sort
of a
of.
little bit of a shadow,
Hmm.
but Mercury is doing something that sounds pretty interesting that we're going to talk about today, along with a couple of other transits, our hot headlines. Uh, and you have some pretty big news. Maybe if they haven't been following you that closely, you've got something fun and exciting coming up in your life in
Yes.
just like 5 days. So,
Yeah,
what's
six
happening?
days. Yeah. Well, we're going to Cracker Barrel. That's where we're going to be spending our honeymoon. We're getting married this weekend on Sunday, and yeah, we're going to stop at Cracker Barrel on the way back next Monday. So uh, that'll be our exciting honeymoon is Cracker Barrel after getting married in Santa Barbara. So
I don't know what I would be more excited for getting
Cracker
married
Barrel.
in getting married in the beautiful Santa Barbara area
Mm,
or stopping at Cracker Barrel. I'm
yeah,
just
I know
kidding,
it's tough.
obviously.
It's tough to choose.
Oh my gosh. Well, congratulations. I'm
Thank
really
you.
excited for the two of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Santa Barbara, gosh, what a beautiful part of California. And
Mm,
oh, I just, the energy around it feels so lovely and warm. And yeah, I think you've got some good
mm,
energy you're going into with this marriage of yours and
yeah.
officially tying the knot. And as
Mm,
you've recently announced, you've got twin babies on the way.
yep. Exactly. Lots of big shifts and changes and movement, and we feel really excited and very fortunate to have one another and to be together and to be making this commitment for to each other in front of our immediate family. And it's going to be a really small group, but it feels very special. It feels very much like us. And yeah, my sister got married in Santa Barbara too. A much different wedding from what I'm going to be having. But Santa Barbara is a very special place to both of us because I went to school there. I went to UCSB for my undergrad. I also grew up going there my whole life because my uncle had a house in the Santa Barbara area. So I grew up going there as a kid every summer. He was generous enough to let us use his home. And Gabriella got her master's degree at the Pacifica Graduate Institute, which is in the Santa Barbara area. So we both have a lot of affection and love for Santa Barbara. And it's a beautiful place. And we're excited to connect in this meaningful way in front of our immediate family.
I love that. And Debbie's given you a tip for Cracker Barrel.
Yeah.
Apparently, they have campfire meals, and the beef and the chicken are both good.
Hey.
Do me a huge favor if you do end up stopping on
Yeah.
your honeymoon at Cracker Barrel, even if it's just for a photo opportunity. Please
Yeah.
take a picture so we can show everyone.
Oh yeah, no, that's why I'm stopping there because I got to take a picture at Cracker Barrel.
Oh my
So
God.
yeah,
New viewers to this show will have no idea what we're talking about, but Scott has never been to a Cracker Barrel.
I'd
And
never even
so,
heard of it before.
yeah,
Didn't even know what it was.
yeah.
Yeah.
hmm Yeah.
Hmm.
So we're going to fix that.
Yes.
Okay, cool. There's lots going on. I think in my world, my biggest shift that's happening right now is, we have this Mercury retrograde in Leo. I think for the whole last year, I have been trying to formulate a business accelerator program. And I've been like doing all these kinds of notes and going back and forth for a year.
Mm.
I woke up this morning and I'm like, oh, today's the day. And it finally like downloaded in and the whole thing got created today. So that's really exciting. I'll talk a little bit more about it at the end of the
Yeah.
show. But yeah, it's so fun to look at the astrology. And it really didn't even dawn on me this morning as I was doing all this work was like, oh yeah, Mercury turn direct in Leo, my house of communications,
It's
like
actually in your house of security right now, which
oh,
is the house that represents money,
oh,
and material and financial well-being and security. The sun is transiting through your third house, the house of communication. Uh, yeah, and Mars is opposing. Well, no, actually, I'm looking at something else. So, yeah. But yeah, so the sun's transiting through your third house, the house of communication, and Mercury is transiting through your second house, the house of security.
I love that because a
Yeah.
big piece of the intention with creating this business accelerator program was to help people like really feel amazing and awesome with either launching or growing their own, spiritual business. And so
What's
I
also
think,
yeah, What's also interesting is like your Chiron is in Taurus, which is like a wound to material and financial security, but it's being aligned with Venus and Jupiter in Cancer in a positive way. So it's like bringing about maybe a sense of healing for you and for those who are going to connect with you through your course.
yeah, I agree. I think one of my biggest lessons over doing this business over the last decade, because I owned other businesses prior to this, but I really had to learn how much my own personal worth and value and the story I told
Mm.
myself about what I was worth, how that directly impacted my company and level of success. So I really am excited because what I've created in this 10-week container is literally what I have learned over the last decade and paid. I did the math today, over $15,000 in coaching programs, and bundling that all up into a 10-week accelerator container for people that want to do this. And I just feel like it's part of my bigger calling. And so I'm really, really excited. So, anyway, that's kind of
Yeah.
my tease of what's going on in my life right now. You're getting married, I'm launching a business program.
Yeah, exactly. Amazing.
Yeah, it's a good week. I feel a lot of positive momentum this week. I feel like,
Good.
yeah, it feels like as I'm hearing spirit say in my ear, like all things are possible. Like I really
Mm.
feel like we have a lot within our grasp this week to work with. Um, and if we are feeling negative about something, or we are feeling like something's not working out for us, maybe it's a great week to revisit, like, you know what, that's the old story. I'm not going to say that anymore. Like, I'm
Mm.
going to create the new story because, I think we are going to be up against a lot of challenges in the coming months and the next few years with the world and in general. But I think for us in our lives, our individual lives and stories, I actually feel a lot more optimistic right now about what we can change and shift in our own lives. So,
What is that? How is that coming up for you? Like, what are you feeling optimistic about, or where do you think that energy is coming up?
it almost feels like, and as you asked that question, I'm seeing psychically like standing on a stage with a spotlight on us. So it feels actually like that Leo energy.
Mm.
It feels like that warmth of standing on stage under the spotlight and delivering a heartfelt message, a heartfelt story, leading with our hearts, leading with curiosity, standing with other people and getting curious about their story and their life. Like, so it feels to me more like the warmth of Leo if I really am tuning into what I feel like that is.
Well, it's interesting because the sun is at about 20 degrees in Leo right now, and it's at 20 degrees in Leo, and your sun is at 23 degrees in Leo, or 23 degrees in Sagittarius, and your Neptune is at 22 degrees in Sagittarius. Your Pluto is at 23 degrees in Libra. So that Leo sun is igniting your sense of vitality, your dreams, your unconscious, as well as the transformation of your heart with your fifth house Pluto in Libra. So, where the sun is, it's kind of moving into this position that you can see it invigorating your chart.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I hadn't really even looked at my own chart that closely about what was happening right now. I just know like how I feel. But it's fun for me to be dreaming about this business program for a year. And then finally today feel like, woohoo, like the door just opened. Like those are fun days for me because Spirit is amazing with giving me downloads around business and business ideas and what to help people with. So I really feel like one of my big callings is helping people that want to do this professionally and how to do it and in a way that's actually very practical and grounded. Because in this industry of spirituality, a lot of the concepts that I've come across are very woo or like, have this idea and manifest on it, which is all great, but I like to approach it with like, here are the nitty gritty, like down and dirty keys of like how you actually do this. So people can activate it and work with it. It's literally the program I wish I would have had at the very beginning of my journey. And so I'm just really excited and wanted to share that.
That's perfect. Perfect. Yeah. I love it, Dallisa. Yay! So cool.
Yeah, we both have awesome stuff. And I would love to hear in the comments, everybody, if you're feeling this or you're feeling some kind of momentum or good energy this week, let me know in the comments, what is your silver lining for this week? What is really like coming full circle for you, or where do you feel like there's this door opening? We'd love to celebrate that in the comments. So let's start by talking about a few things. Mercury is now out of retrograde in Leo. It's still in a bit of shadow, but it sextiles Mars in Libra over the next 2 weeks. Break that down. What the heck is that?
So yeah, I mean, Mercury's deep in its shadow. It's exactly where it was when the retrograde ended. It's at the same spot that it's been since August 7th. It's going to remain at 4 degrees in Leo until August 14th. So, if anyone is feeling that sort of crunchiness and heaviness and, just frustration, it could be because of, even though Mercury retrograde's over, I don't think about it as being over. It's not really over for me until August 25th. That's when Mercury exits its retrograde shadow. So we've got a couple more weeks till that happens. And during that time, we're still retracing the places where Mercury has been since June 29th. So there's a lot of sort of rehashing here in terms of how we're communicating from our heart. Are we able to listen from our heart, especially for those who were born, in like 85, 86? This could be a challenging period because Mercury is squaring your Pluto. And so, and it's just kind of sitting there squaring your Pluto. So anyone born in kind of the mid 80s may not be feeling the same level of abundance as you are, Dallisa. So, it's just something to be mindful of so that you can take care of yourself in whatever manner you need to really care for your heart. But during this period, and because Mercury is moving extremely slow, like I said, it's going to be at 4 degrees from last Thursday, August 7th, to this Thursday, August 14th. And typically over a 7-day period, Mercury would move 10 to 14 degrees, and it's not moving 1 degree during this period. So, but because of that stagnation and the slow movement of Mercury, we have this gift, which is the sextile that Mercury in Leo is making with Mars in Libra. This is something that we're feeling from August 11th to the 21st. So from like yesterday to that's next Thursday. With the exact sextile is actually occurring on my wedding day, Sunday, August 17th. So, but Venus transiting through, or Mars transiting through Libra. Libra is cardinal air. Mercury transiting through Leo, that's fixed fire. So air and fire, they fuel each other. This is a sextile. They're only 60 degrees apart from each other. There's a lot of support here in terms of like the opportunity here over this 10-day period from yesterday to next Thursday is to initiate any conversations that you need to initiate in order to alleviate the tension or the stagnation that you're feeling within those relationships, to create balance, harmony, and peace. So whatever you feel, whatever's coming up, like it doesn't matter how small it is, like, just over this, like last week was my sister's birthday, and I called her, left her a message, and what I thought was a very heartfelt, sensitive, and supportive and loving message. And she responded with a text saying, thank you for your sweet and silly message. And I was just like, silly? I don't understand what that means, like I felt kind of bothered from that. And I saw her on Saturday, and I was like, can you explain your text message to me? Like, what did you mean by silly? I was confused by that. And she's like, oh, well, I mean, I didn't mean it like there was something wrong with it or anything. I just, you said that you remembered our uncle lifting you up and showing me in the nursery and not dad. And I don't know why I said silly. It didn't really make sense, but I felt better about like just kind of calling her out on that because it was bothering me. It was creating that stagnation. It felt like an imbalance. And so that's just an example. It's not a big issue, but it could be a big issue if I didn't address it.
I'm just taking a note of that because I think that's really important. Sometimes we can be bothered by something and we let it fester and build and build and build. And then eventually we just like pop.
Yes.
And the person's like, wait, what's going on? What happened? Like,
exactly.
And they didn't realize it started all the way back with like one word or one line of a sentence that was said. And so it's like addressing it if it's something that's bothering you. So I love it. Yeah. Address it. I want to acknowledge, I asked for silver linings from this week in the comments, and Sandra is saying reconnected with an old friend. I love that as a silver lining for this week. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Especially even with Mercury in its retrograde shadow. And, we're going to be talking about Venus conjunct Jupiter in Cancer. I mean, both of those are about, reconnecting with old friends or people from the past.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. So Venus conjunct Jupiter in Cancer, first time since August of 2001. I think that sounds pretty lovely. I like Venus's energy. I like Jupiter's energy. I think Cancer's got a lot of really great qualities to it. So what do we get when we put all that together?
So, yeah, Venus, the goddess of love and beauty, the planet of relationships, the planet that is, Lady Luck. And then Jupiter is the planet of luck, Lord of justice, the god of thunder. And so you have these two benevolent forces joining together in the cardinal water sign, symbolized by the crab, ruled by the moon, Cancer. And I think it's really special, the fact that this hasn't happened in, I guess, what is that, 14 years? 24 years. 24 years, yeah. So 24 years. And I think the opportunity is to really take a look at your past, your roots, the origins of your relationships, specifically the relationships that you have with your parents or anyone else from your childhood that raised you. It's it's something that's coming up a lot for, Gabriella and I, in terms of, we're getting married kind of in the wake of this aspect, with Jupiter and Venus in Cancer. And we're really reflecting upon not just our relationships of our past, but even more specifically our relationship with our parents, and how we reflect our parents to each other. What is it that we want to maintain? What do we want to release? Because this is my mom or dad, and it's not me. There are parts of my mom and dad that are me, and then there's parts that maybe they're me, but I don't really want to be whatever that is. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's a negative thing in general, but it's just not who I am and who I want to be moving forward. And especially, having a couple of kids on the way, there's a lot of reflection there about how we want to parent, what traits we're going to pass down from our parents to our children, and what traits that we're going to, leave to the wayside. Um, yeah.
Yeah, those are great examples. Debbie is adding to that theme. I just saw an old friend coworker today. I think we both felt the love of friendship. So,
Hmm.
yeah, I think that Venus conjunct Jupiter in Cancer, I think, is a good uh, connection, alignment with that energy. Um, yeah, fascinating. I love that. We also have another transit that's happening. Saturn retrograde in Aries is sextile Uranus and Gemini, the first time since 1527. What the heck?
Yeah.
Obviously, very rare. So, how do you unpack that? How might it show up in our lives?
Well, before I get there, I just want to say one more thing about Venus and Jupiter in Cancer. In the fact that, like, because you brought up the comment about an old friend, somebody that they really feel emotions towards. I mean, Cancer is the sign of emotions, and so it's connecting from that emotional sensitivity. It might feel subtle. It might bring up emotions, allow the emotions to come up. I noticed in the comments that somebody also mentioned that this is conjunct the star Sirius. So that can bring about, even greater, like, spiritual awakening or higher wisdom, connection to divine feminine energy, as we, are reflecting upon our past, and the origins of our relationships.
Question about that too, as we're still on the conjunction of Venus and Jupiter in Cancer, because it's the sign of emotions, Cancer.
Mhm.
If I put those two together in a logical way of Venus, Jupiter in the sign of Cancer, do you think people could be falling in love with this?
With what do you mean
Like
by
like
this?
with their relationship, like could they be
Mm,
falling in love because Venus, uh, love, Jupiter,
yes,
expansion,
yes,
Cancer, emotion. So just
yes.
kind of wondering, like, from a logical sense,
Oh, yeah.
could this be like a turning point in romantic relationships?
I think so. I mean, I think you bring up a really good point, Delisa, because it brings about a greater sense of sensitivity. And when, especially, like, from the male perspective, when you're more sensitive, you can, connect to your feminine partner maybe a little deeper and in a little more meaningful way. And yeah, I mean, I feel like there's really a lot of support for falling in love during this period.
So what a great time to get married.
Yeah. Well, I mean, of course, I did a lot of work looking at the, where the planets were going to be, not only just in general, but in terms of how they're aligning in my astrological code, in Gabriella's astrological code, and in our composite code as well. So, um, it's there's a lot of positivity. Of course, there are challenges. Like, I don't really think that you can ever find a day that's just going to be like every single alignment is a sextile or trine. There's no squares or oppositions or even conjunctions. But I don't even know if I would want to get married under that sky, because I think the challenges are the ones that really push you to evolve. Every relationship is going to have some sorts of challenges, and you hear about couples all the time. At least I do, in the work that I do, and people that are like, yeah, my parents never had a fight and then they got a divorce, or,
Wow.
so sometimes if there's no conflict, then there's that thing that's just like we were saying, it's just festering beneath the surface, and it just builds and builds and builds until finally one day, the one of the spouses quietly gives uh, a divorce summons or something to their partner. It's like, wait, where is this coming from? Like, I even see that I was watching this show called The Gilded Age, and there's a character in this show, and her husband has an affair on her, and they get a divorce. And this isn't like one of the main couples, but so you don't really see them outside of like social situations, but it felt very shocking. It's like, wait, what? And it just kind of shows that like you don't really know what's going on in people's lives, and then something happens. So, it's all how you work with the energy, and I'm excited about where the energy is going to be for us on Sunday.
Yay.
Yeah.
Hooray for love, Sue says.
Yes. Thank you, Sue.
Yeah. Okay, so then the third one that we have is that Saturn retrograde in Aries, sextile Uranus and Gemini, first time since 1527.
Yes.
Obviously, we
Yes.
know it's really, really rare.
Yes.
But I know sextile can be a flowing aspect, but we have Saturn in retrograde.
Exactly.
We haven't had Uranus and Gemini in a long time either. So, how do you unpack that for how it shows up in our lives?
So Saturn is the planet of restriction, responsibility, hard work, achievement, authority. Uranus is the planet of revolution, rebellion, innovation, independence, the unexpected. So these two planetary energies, just in their nature, aside from whatever sign they're in, they're kind of polarizing energetic forces. You have restriction, Saturn, and rebellion, Uranus. But in this manifestation of how they're appearing to us right now, with Saturn in Aries, which is cardinal fire, Uranus in Gemini, which is mutable air. So, like we were talking about Mercury and Mars, Mercury's in fixed fire, Leo. Mars is in cardinal air, Libra. That's a sextile. It's a 60-degree angle. This is also a sextile where you have two planets in different signs with different but complementary elements in different modalities. And so there's a lot of support here. There's a lot of support for seeing things from a different perspective, reclaiming your sense of confidence. Saturn, we've talked a lot about how Saturn is taking responsibility to love yourself, that nobody can really love you more than you love yourself, and it's the most important love is self-love. And so Saturn is saying, listen, like, it's up to you. If you're unhappy in your life, if you are unhappy with yourself, it's up to you to turn that around. It's up to you to take responsibility to love yourself. Uranus is saying, let's look at it from a different perspective. If you're upset at yourself, if you're angry at yourself, if you're frustrated with who you are, of who you became or who you were, let's try to look at it from a different perspective. Let's take a revolutionary perspective in terms of how you're looking at yourself. So, I put this in my Substack this week, my essay about Saturn and Uranus. Just a few questions like, where in your life are the old where in your life is the old structure losing its relevance? So the old structure is that Saturn energy. It's like, okay, if you're feeling stuck and it's like that constant story that you're telling yourself, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not young enough, whatever enough, you're not enough. Like that is the old structure. And it's losing its relevance because, it's like you were saying, like, I'm feeling all this Leo energy. And like Leo, like that's opening the heart. And the heart is saying, no, you're great exactly as you are right now. You have so much value exactly as you are right now. Like the other question is, what new tool, idea, or form of communication is offering to reshape how you live, lead, or create? What new tool, idea, or form of communication is offering to reshape how you live, lead, or create? The new tool is Uranus in Gemini, because Uranus is the planet of innovation. It's transiting through the sign ruled by Mercury, Gemini, the mind. So are you having a new idea, a new sort of insight that's coming about? Are you finding that there is a new way to communicate? Like the way that I was communicating with my sister was different than how I've communicated with her in the past. Typically, if my sister had done something that made me feel uncomfortable or off center, I would just find ways to agitate her, a lot of Scorpio sarcasm, and just kind of needle at her. And I'm like, I can't do that anymore. Like that's, big brother picking on little sister from back when we were kids. And so I have to find a new way to communicate with her when I'm feeling upset by something that has transpired between the two of us. The third question is, are you trying to preserve a system out of fear, or are you willing to reinvent it with integrity? So the reinvention is Uranus, the integrity is Saturn, because that structure has integrity. It's like you want the building to have structural integrity. So, and the system is also Saturn. So are you just like, well, this is just how it's always been. It's always been this way. So it has to keep being. No, it doesn't. It does not have to continue being this way. It can be different. So are you ready to be open to these shifts?
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of, I was hearing Saturn in there for sure, but I feel excited about Uranus and Gemini, but I also think that energy can move so fast that if we're not being mindful of these bigger questions and how we're moving through life, the word spirit is using in my ear is whiplash.
Yes,
So,
that's a good one.
yeah, so I think we really should consider what you just brought up because of the Uranus sextiling Saturn retrograde in Aries, and asking ourselves about these structures, these systems, these responsibilities. But gosh, this Uranus in Gemini, I feel like we could have a complete rebirth over and over and over again over these next like 7 years or so with just that one placement of Gemini and Uranus, and how it's going to, or Uranus and Gemini, and how it's going to really ask us to consider how we're communicating and is it effective? I just feel like it's part of this whole dismantling theme that I keep talking about in my predictions. The old ways are not going to work.
No.
Like they once did, perhaps, or maybe they've never worked, but old systems being burned to the ground. And so are you going to let them burn and be that phoenix rising and create these new systems and structures? Or are you just going to put your put your foot down and say, well, this, like you said, this is how it's always been done. And there's no point in changing now. I'm X amount of years old. They can just deal with it, you know. There, whew, I feel like that could bring up a whole slew of relationship issues.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. I mean, and when you think about Uranus, the last time it was in Gemini was like 1940, what was it, 43, 42, 43 to 1950 or so, 49, 50. Like, think about how much the world had changed in the decade of the 40s. So you've got to be open to seeing things from a different perspective and not clinging to the way things have always been. It's about just let go, allow yourself to fall into the abyss of the unknown, and you will be that phoenix rising from the ashes, more powerful than ever.
Yes, I agree. So a lot on the table with our relationships, of course. Um, and we all have relationships, all different kinds of relationships. So really asking yourself, am I communicating from a place within myself that feels mature and responsible and loving and kind? Yeah. Well, we're doing the work.
Yeah, exactly.
We're doing the work.
Exactly.
I took a bunch of notes. I think, you know, everybody born in, like you said, the mid 80s, that there's going to be a potential challenge with Mercury squaring their Pluto. We have an opportunity to speak from our heart in our relationships, asking where is something stuck and addressing it. We may feel themes of connecting with people from the past and looking at our relationship with our parents or people that helped to raise us. Are we going to be in fear? Are we going to reinvent the systems of our lives? So just some of the things that you brought up and great questions to ask ourselves. But yeah, naturally, when I hear Saturn retrograde and I hear Uranus, I'm like, oh my God, they feel like opposites. But you said they're very polarizing. But it allows us to see things from a different perspective, really activating that confidence and getting us to love ourselves even more, which I think bleeds into all parts of our life when we love ourselves more.
And can I just say one other thing
Yeah.
about all this astrology right now?
Mhm.
Because I think it's such an important note to understand that, like when we talk about structure and the way things have been, like there's never been a time that is more attuned to not clinging to the way things have always been than right now. Because I mean, when you look at where everything is in the sky, there's literally 0 planets in earth signs. I mean, the moon is in Aries right now. And so, of course, the moon moves quickly. In a couple days, it will be in Taurus. So we'll have a little bit of earth energy then. But you've got Saturn, Neptune, and Chiron, along with the moon, all in Aries. That's cardinal fire. You've got Mercury and the sun in Leo. That's fixed fire. So that's 6 planets in fire signs. You've got Mars in Libra, which is cardinal air. You've got Pluto in Aquarius, which is fixed air, and Uranus in Gemini, which is mutable air. So you've got 3 planets in air signs, 6 planets in fire signs, and then you've got Venus and Jupiter in Cancer and the North Node in Pisces. So 2 planets in the North Node in water. The South Node is in Virgo, which is Earth. But, that is about releasing structure, releasing things needing to be, needing to have control. Like you have no control over anything right now. It's like, let the wind carry you where it may. Feel the fire, feel the heat. Either you're getting reshaped into something or burned down and reincarnated as the phoenix rising, or there's too much heat and you're feeling it and you need to run from it and go someplace else. But yeah, so I guess there is a need to ground, but I also think of it in terms of, like, just let the energy take it where it may. And, I feel like maybe it's grounding is really difficult right now. So maybe there is a need to ground, but I also maybe think of grounding as clinging to what you know rather
Mm.
than being open to what is possible.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that shift in perspective.
Yeah.
Before we move on to our headlines, I just want to say on our leaderboard right now,
Oh, who's
over
that?
on YouTube,
Yeah.
we have Linda C. is number one, who's been commenting up a storm today.
Okay.
Laura Z is in second place. And this is just a funsy competition. And then we have a bunch of people tied for third. So the more you comment on the live stream, the more points you earn, and it gets you higher up in the leaderboard. So it's just
There's
a fun
no
thing.
Jacks here today. There's no Jacks. Where are you, Jacks?
I know. I thought the same thing. Yeah, if you want to take first place, second place, yeah, Jax is in here to take it over.
I love it. That's hilarious.
Yeah, so I just thought that would be fun to mention. Yeah. And also, you mentioned your Substack a minute ago. I wanted to let everybody know, because I didn't know this. I was telling you backstage before we started. I am not someone that generally reads large articles or usually articles in general, right? I will skim, but I prefer audio, which is the way that I learn better. So you send out your weekly email, and it's got your Substack in there and what you've wrote. So you had something in there like click to listen to the audio, and I was like, what? What is this? So I clicked on it, and it was like this mini podcast episode from you where I could hear you telling me what you wrote about the transit that you had selected. So I just want to let people know we were celebrating also because you've doubled the amount of people that follow your Substack now. And
I'm over 20 subscribers. Thank you, everyone who's subscribing to my Substack. And big shout out to the listener who's sponsored my Substack. I was like, what? I didn't even know that was possible. Somebody just like sponsored my Substack. I was like, wait, that's a thing? I can make money off this? Wow, that's cool. Thank you so much.
I know, because you've been doing it just to share astrological wisdom with all of us. And,
totally.
And you like, writing and sharing that. And so if you're on Substack, you can go over there and search for Scott, the Weekly Transit. Or if you just want to join the email list, theweeklytransit.com, and that'll give you the reminder of the Substack too. So either way, but I just wanted to say congratulations. You've got a lot of big things happening for you right now, obviously. And so anybody that's like, oh God, I don't want to read another thing. If you're like me, you get to listen to the audio of Scott telling you what he wrote. So anyway,
I appreciate
just a little mention.
Thank you, Dallisa. Thank you. Yeah, I had, when I first started writing these articles, somebody reached out to me right away who was on my email subscriber list and was like, you should record this because I'd rather listen to this, like, even if it was just like an AI voice or something, because I'm like doing something else, and to sit and stare at a screen for 10 minutes is different than if I'm just listening and I'm doing something else. I was like, okay, cool, I'll record it. So I love listening to the sound of my own voice. So I'll record it and put it on there. And I've been doing that. So thank you, Dallisa.
Oh my God, she heard us.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, so she popped in right as we were talking about her. She's like, I just showed up.
Oh my God, this community is the best.
Yeah,
oh my
hilarious.
gosh.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. And then Ellen is saying constantly reading the long articles. So Ellen's reading. So.
Okay, cool. Awesome, Ellen. Yes.
Sweet. Okay, let's get into these headlines. I have doubled them up, and they all kind of hopefully fit some kind of theme. So let's get our screen adjusted here. The theme for these two articles is making an exit. Now, you have to understand that I am sarcastic. Sarcasm is my love language at times. And so making an exit is the theme for these two articles. One is about how there aren't enough doctors available to help with assisted suicide in Canada. And then the other article is an armed carjacker stealing 3 vehicles, including a big rig in an LA pursuit. when I saw the photos of this carjacking,
Oh my God.
that they stole 3 different vehicles during this pursuit, and one of them was a big rig truck. It's like, you gotta be kidding me. So this was like the Houdini articles for this week. So what do you think about people or the theme of making an exit? Is there anything or like Neptunian that might fit this, you think, astrologically?
Well, yeah. I mean, I feel like I want to tread lightly here because I don't know what anybody is going through to want to make this choice. I imagine
Yeah.
that anyone who is contemplating assisted suicide, you know, I imagine it hasn't been an easy decision. You know, maybe once they get to the point, it's easier, but it just feels very antithetical to why we're here, you know, and it feels like it is has something to do with the Saturn and Neptune in Aries and self-love.
Hmm.
You know, maybe some people would say that assisted suicide is self-love because I'm
Hmm.
suffering and you know, this is helping me love myself more by, you know, taking care of the pain and moving on to the next phase, whatever that may be. On the other hand, you know, some could say that suicide is the very antithesis of self-love, you know, killing yourself. And so, I mean, it just sounds horrifying and
Hmm.
sad to me, regardless of, you know, what the circumstances are. And my heart goes out to anyone who's contemplating this or has a family member who's gone through this. Feels really hard. And so, yeah, a lot of self love, responsibility for self love, understanding that you deserve love.
Hmm. Absolutely. I think it's alarming that there aren't enough doctors to
That is,
assist in Canada. That's wild to me. And I don't know all the ins and outs of the Canadian system around this and how it works. And um, I have, from a psychic perspective,
yeah, what are you,
looked
yeah.
at this.
Yes, yes.
What I have been told as I channel on it is that if you exit, making an exit, if you
Hmm.
exit off, um, and your lessons are not done,
Hmm.
you will come back in.
Hmm.
So making an exit is not a green light to then go off into eternity in the clouds. Like, that's
Hmm.
not what I ever see when I channel on it. It's like,
No.
oh, you chose that decision, and everybody's got a right, I believe, to make their own choice. And it's like you said, everybody's got their own set of circumstances and what's involved. I'm not judging that at all. Um, but if there are things that aren't done or finished or learned, they've shown it to me as like this gateway back in the reincarnation cycle.
And I imagine it's not going to be any easier, uh, you know, because the way when you're relearning these lessons, they get harder and harder. They get harder and harder until you learn them. They don't
Mm-hmm.
get easier until you learn them. They get harder. And I mean, I've seen a lot of death in my family. You know, people that were terminally ill, and you know, it was not easy to watch them wither away and die. It was not easy for me to be a witness to that. It was not easy for them to go through it. But one thing that I really admire about my family members who have experienced these sort of long drawn out deaths where they've gone through many many different ailments is just such strength and resolve.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really inspiring for me. For as sad as it was also inspiring because it felt very I guess, dignified that they
Mm-hmm.
had accepted their path, and it was like, okay, then this is my lesson here, and I'm gonna go through this as best as I can.
Yeah, all excellent points. And 988 in the US is the hotline if anybody is needing to talk to somebody, and it's completely free,
Mm,
um, because I think a lot of people feel like they're alone or they don't know who to talk to.
mm,
Um, and again, no judgment from me. You do what you need to do. But I would love for you to be here
mm,
and to be a part of this journey. And like you said, that you've seen and witnessed people that have had these long, extended um, transition periods between here and the other side.
mm.
Um, I don't know. I don't want anyone to leave prematurely, I guess is what I'm saying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, again, we don't know the circumstances of all these individuals. Everyone is different, but I think about like my grandfather, who in his 70s he received a diagnosis from a doctor because he had some form of cancer that told him he had 6 months to live.
Mm.
Uh, Thankfully, he was hard of hearing and didn't really hear what the doctor said, and said, "Huh?" And my aunt was like, "Don't worry about it. Never mind." And he lived to be 100 years old. So,
Wow.
it's like we put such, uh, you know, we put doctors on this pedestal that, like, the doctor said this, then that must be what it's going to be. And I feel like our bodies and our will, they're so much more powerful than we might give it credit for. And
Hmm.
so, I think about my grandfather, like he lived another 20, 30 years
Hmm.
because he didn't hear what the doctor told him that he was supposed to die in 6 months.
Hmm. Yeah, I hear stories like that all the time. May not be somebody I know personally, but you hear it in the media or in the news about people that defy the odds and miracles happen. And yeah, I agree. I think be here is what I would say. Be here.
Mhm.
But yeah, people have been asking a lot in the comments about, well, what happens if you do exit. And Xavier's been sharing a lot in the comments here, and it sounds like
Mm,
in Canada that people are really divided about
mm,
people doing this,
mm.
and the choices that are involved in that, and everything that it entails. Um,
Wow. And
yeah, go ahead.
I mean, Xavier also said, I probably would have lost faith also if it wasn't for finding Scott and his lovely partner. Wow. Thank you, Xavier. I'm glad we've been able to, support you. Um, I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, the reincarnation cycle. They just say you come back in
Hmm.
and finish what you didn't finish in the previous lifetime. And so I would say, just from a psychic perspective and what I've seen, stay here, do the work,
Hmm.
um, trust that everything is unfolding as it should for divine purpose, um, so that you don't come all the way back in. Somebody had asked about animals and like if I'd seen anything about animals, like when we have to put an animal down. Um, I don't actually see the same reincarnation cycle that animals have to go through that humans go through.
Mm.
And animals have shown me over and over again that when they exit or depart, depending on if it was natural causes or they had to get put down or an accident or whatever, that they are still very connected to us through the bonds of love. And they, a lot of the time, stay around us and they're in our homes. And when we move, they move with us. So they just have a very different relationship to life that I've seen after death than humans have.
Yes, I think it's different for animals too. I don't know. I mean, we unfortunately had to say goodbye, with euthanization with our sweet dog Maggie. Um, and we had a medical intuitive tell us that it would be harder for her to transition if we did that. Though she did, after we did it, say that she was able to make the shift, but it just felt like there was like she wasn't getting better, and like how do you help them transition? I mean, it felt like she had done her work, and I don't know. Maybe I'm just giving myself a pass because we did that, but it feels like it's different for animals. Then they're not at the same level of consciousness as we are. Is that accurate? You think? How do you? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's. I would describe it as almost like a different level in a video game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like we're the main character in the video game, but we also have sidekicks and helpers in the video game, and
Yes.
so I think that those would be the animals that are here to help love and support us and show us what unconditional love really does feel like.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, there are special guides. I saw something not too long ago about how animals come into your life if there isn't the form of a human baby to come through, where they will manifest into being in your life through animals. And I thought that was really interesting too, that there is different energies and souls that have agreed to be in our lives and part of our soul contracts. And so I think there can even be special instances where animals can reincarnate into a new animal that you get, or they play a very significant role in your life as a soul contract.
I mean, I feel like our dog Maggie had totally had a soul contract with Gabriella and I. Like, I'm not going to get into the whole story about how Gabriella ended up in California, but like, if it wasn't for Maggie, Gabriella wouldn't be in California. And if she wasn't in California, I wouldn't have met her. So Maggie was responsible for helping bring us together. She definitely brought us closer when we were together because of the experiences that Gabriella and I had through Maggie. Maggie kept us together during the most difficult times of our relationship because she was like our daughter, and like we can't separate because we have to take care of her. And so Maggie kept us together. And then Maggie died 2 weeks after we found out that Gabrielle was pregnant. So I think of it as like Maggie brought us together, kept us together, and didn't leave until she was sure that we were going to stay together.
Ooh, I have chills from head to toe as confirmation. Wow. Talk
Amazing.
about like
Yeah.
soul contract,
Yes.
divine purpose. Like,
Exactly.
wow. Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Well, there are a lot of comments going back and forth about the subject of the top article here. So keep that conversation going. I love all the viewpoints and perspectives, and I am
Yes.
certainly not always right. I'm sure Scott would say the
Oh
same.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right, let's go to our next theme, which is money, money, money. This is restaurants are under the threat as costs skyrocket and consumers cut back. So, especially like local restaurants, maybe mom and pop establishments. And then the other one is about scammers trying to steal your money. Everyone with an iPhone or Android told, don't click, it could cost you. I have seen the amount of spam calls and texts and emails skyrocket.
Insane.
So, both articles about money and where money could be lost or where the scammers could gain. So, what do you attribute? And do you think that, Uranus going retrograde soon-ish back into Taurus, that we may be revisiting more of these themes? But what do you make of it astrologically?
Yeah, totally. Because Uranus, when it does retrograde into Taurus, I think there's going to be some financial unrest. Like the restaurants under threat as costs skyrocket and consumers cut back. I mean, this makes me think. I think it's what we were talking about last week or 2 weeks ago, how people are cutting back on vacations, summer vacation, and we were saying how in December, I think people are going to be cutting back on like holiday gifts and that sort of stuff. I think that everything is just way too expensive. Like when you look at you look at like the price of going to a baseball game in the 1960s or going to Disneyland in the 1960s compared to what it costs now, it's like, and you compare that to the inflation of how much money people are making, like we'd have to be making like 10, 20, 30 times more than what we're making right now for it to be equivalent to what it was in the 1960s. So, I think people are just, it's like we're stretched thin. And so, and then the iPhone and these spam calls, I mean, that also shows like a level of desperation of, people just really like, I was just laughing to Gabriella today that I got a phone call from a +66 phone number. It's like, I don't even know what this area uh, code was, but it's, it's saying that my Coinbase account has been, accessed from someone in China. It's like, okay, well, I don't have a Coinbase account, but thanks for your concern. Like, and even if I did, like, why would I look at this +66 number and want to click on it? But I get dozens of phone calls every day and text messages just from strange numbers, people wanting to give me loans, and it goes straight to voicemail. But it's really annoying, and I just look forward to the day when we don't get these calls or texts anymore. It's just so. But our phone numbers, like you have to put it in everything to sign up for anything. You have to put, yeah, the entertainment budget is non-existent. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we're being squeezed.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's being squeezed.
A little tip that people may like, you can open up a free Google Voice phone number, and then you can put it on Do Not Disturb, and then just use that phone number for things that are questionable.
Yeah, I know. I know. I feel like it's too late though. I mean, maybe 5 years ago,
Yeah,
my
right?
yeah, exactly. I mean, my number's already out there in so many different platforms. It's like, how do I, it's like it's already out there. It's too late. So, and this is the same number I've had for the last 27 years or so. Like, I'm not
Incogni.
incogni. Okay, I'll have to
Okay.
look into that. Incogni. I'm writing that down. Thank you, Edward. Incogni. Yeah.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, Valerie's saying get calls from different numbers about owing taxes. I get some about like uh, unpaid parking ticket or something that's going to collections. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Great.
just
Big.
crazy. Yeah. So yeah, money issues. We're going to see more of these
Well, and
circle back.
also like when you're
Yeah.
looking at these too, it's like I think that's also, because we think about Taurus as being the money sign, but really, Gemini is the sign of commerce because Mercury is the god of merchants and thieves. So when you're thinking about these restaurants, when you're thinking about the travel and the vacations, when you're thinking about communication, the phone, that could be Uranus transiting in through Gemini and the technology and all of that. It's, there's disruption to merchants, thieves, communication, all of that with Uranus and Gemini.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, more to come on that. This is the theme of old things. Top one, AOL ditching dial-up service, a
Wow.
relic of the internet in the 90s and early 2000s. That was still a thing.
I
There's
know. I didn't realize you could still do dial up.
Oh my god. And then the bottom article is Atlanta home struck by meteorite, older than the Earth.
Wow.
So old things. I think of
Yeah.
Saturn as old.
What,
So
but
yeah.
maybe it's also, the planets in Cancer too, which is the past.
Mm,
It's like that's a dial tone is a relic from the past. The dial-up internet is a relic from the past, and so I think of Jupiter and Venus in Cancer for that. But yeah, maybe Saturn has something to do with that as well. uh yeah, but you know but Uranus and Gemini, it's moving things forward. It's like we gotta yeah, exactly, they're still dial-up. I didn't even I was shocked to read that headline when you sent it to me.
Yeah. Jax is saying that unpaid toll texts are real. The ones I'm talking about is they're like, reply to this and then copy and paste the link into your browser. It's like, oh my God, don't do it. That's really what that article was about, was like people sending text messages that'll just say like hello,
Yes.
or they'll send you a link and you have to reply in order for the link to be activated. Those are scams. Yeah. So, but if you do think you have unpaid tolls, you might want to check on that.
But go to the source.
Yeah,
Not
yeah,
the random
exactly.
text. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of companies are probably even texting less these days because so many people are being scammed. So I don't know. I would trust an email from the source or an automated phone call from the source where it says, go visit our website, and you know that it's the reputable website. So just make sure you're checking everything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next up, the theme is say what? Okay, so
I love
I had
it.
fun this week. I had fun.
I love it. Yeah.
David Justice reveals one reason he and Halle Berry divorced, saying she don't cook, don't clean, and don't really seem motherly. And I saw a video clip about this on the news this morning. He's getting a lot of backlash.
Oh God, I can imagine. Wow.
But actually, when I heard him talk about it, of course, it was a 30-second clip that I watched, but it sounded more like he owned the fact that was the state of mind he was in back then. And so a lot of the backlash is like, you thought Halle Berry would stop her huge acting career to go like clean the house and cook food, but he acknowledges that's what he thought based on his upbringing. So again, the Cancer stuff, like revisiting your relationship with your parents and how that played into who you are now. I think that's a great example of what you shared earlier. And then the bottom article is Antarctic glacier melt reveals remains of Briton who died in 1959 accident. So
that's crazy.
Craziness. So what do you make of this?
Okay, well, first the Halle Berry, that's hilarious. Just because, I mean, I don't think anyone would argue that Halle Berry is like way more famous and successful than David Justice is. Like he was a good baseball player, but I mean, my God, like she's an iconic actress. So, but she's a Leo. She's a Leo sun, a Leo moon. So of course she's, I don't know. She's gonna be about the spotlight. But the interesting thing is that Leo sun, Leo Mercury, Leo moon, they're all in the fourth house. Venus is in Cancer in the fourth house. Mars and Jupiter are in Cancer. So she actually has a lot of motherly energy. And, she is a mother. She has 2 kids. So I don't know, how she is as a mom, but yeah, it seems kind of judgmental and short-sighted of David Justice, and if that's his excuse for wanting to get divorced from Halle Berry, then okay, hope it worked out for you. And then the other one, yeah, go ahead. What were we going to say?
Oh, no, go ahead. Yeah, about the bottom article. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's just, again, like what's coming up when planets are transiting through Cancer. A lot of revealing of the past. Someone from 1959. That's really wild. And that picture is kind of interesting too. Like, I don't know what's going on there. Are they wearing tinfoil hats?
It looks like it.
Yeah.
I think it's the group of meteorologists, if I'm not mistaken, that were working on a project when he went missing. So the article is saying that his brother was shocked that they found him after all these years. As one would imagine. Yeah. Exactly. All right. The next theme is hot or not sex. Hot or not. There used to be this game you would play online where like a picture would come up and it would be like hot or not, and you'd have to say hot or not, and then you would get like your ranking of what people thought. Let me know in the comments if you remember this, but it
Oh
would
yeah.
tell you if people thought you were hot or not. So
Yes.
the top article is about how Gen Z has basically said, no sex for us. And then the other one is Ghislaine Maxwell, a judge rejects unsealing the grand jury transcript. So we know what that case is all about and everything that goes along with it. So what is this with Gen Z being like, no, we're going to all be celibate?
I don't know. I'm so confused by it. But what is Gen Z? What's of Gen Z? When were they born? Let me ask.
Is that like 1990s ish?
Let me see. Let me look this up real quick. Gen Z is 97 to 2012. So that's going to be mostly Sagittarius, some Capricorn, maybe,
For Pluto?
yeah, exactly.
Pluto
I
and
don't,
Sag?
I mean, Sagittarius is freedom lover, and really wanting to kind of stand on their own. So not being, maybe to them, sex is getting tied down to somebody, and they don't want to be a part of that. Yeah, 97 to 2012. So, and Capricorn is more about work and career and goals and ambitions. So, like I think of like the 1960s, like the summer of love, like the people that were involved in that and the free sex of the 1960s and 70s. These are people that were born either with Pluto in Cancer, which is all about making a family. So that would make sense. In order to make a family, you got to have sex. And then,
Not the case so much anymore.
no, not anymore, but at least back in the
Yeah.
1960s.
Yeah.
So, and then, the Leo frequency is, that need to be loved and to be admired. And, I think there's a performative aspect maybe to sex for them. And, now it's like Sagittarius is like, I'm off doing my own thing. I don't need to be tied down by anyone. I don't need a family. And Capricorn is like, I'm focused on goals and ambitions, not a family. So it
Yeah.
feels, it just like all these headlines between like people, between the assisted suicide and the no sex, it's like,
Where are we?
yeah, it's very strange. It's like the world
Very
wants,
strange.
yeah,
But
depopulating itself. And then you've got like this Giselle Maxwell, like, so they're not unsealing the grandeur. So we're going to be continued to be left in the dark.
Yep.
That feels upsetting to me.
Yeah, I think there'll be. I think there's just going to be so many big things that start unfolding in the world that
What do you think?
more natural disasters, um, systems like the education system, medical system, all just like collapsing bigger and bigger. Uh, Bigger issues with recession, leaning even into depression issues. Yeah. So, which I think maybe even just be part of the plan, right? They're like, oh, well, there's going to be bigger things that happen. People are going to start forgetting about this when there's a massive flood and their house is destroyed, right? So
Yeah, exactly.
it's, but yeah, I mean, whether or not you want to hook up with people or not, again, no judgment. You do what you need to do, but we're just calling these articles out into your awareness so you can see what the heck is going on in the world, and I love talking about them. The next one is going to be BFFs Forever. That is U.S. officials rush to finalize detail of Trump-Putin summit this Friday. I believe it's going to be in Alaska. and then Trump to join European leaders on emergency call before the Putin talk. So BFFs forever. They're going to do this talk on Friday. So what do you make of it?
Well, this is interesting because this is an alignment with the Mars in Libra, Mercury in Leo sextile. Like I imagine they're trying to balance something out here. An open-hearted conversation, let's hope, is part of this. I mean, there is a really strong frequency of peace with Mars in Leo sextile, or Mars in Libra sextile Mercury in Leo. So yeah, that's what I'm seeing here.
Yeah, just a mention of this about what we were just talking about. I think it's a good point that the lack of sex and seeking exits could point to a lot of disconnect.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the bigger theme for us to consider. Yeah, for sure. Um, why can't we be friends? So
Mm,
this is your Armenia article about a
yeah.
peace deal they signed at the White House with Trump,
Mm-hmm.
and then obviously very sarcastic theme for the article down below. Trump readies federal moves on DC crime, takes over DC police, National Guard. Obviously, not a lot of people making friends. So, what do you make of these?
Well, the first article with Azerbaijan and Armenia, I mean, this one is. I just think about it in terms of, again, Mercury in Leo and the Sun in Leo. A lot of this feels like theater. Leo is a very theatrical sign, and maybe that's part of what the Trump Putin summit is about. It's just theater. Is something really going to get done in a positive way? I mean, a lot of people could look and say, oh, Azerbaijan and Armenia signed peace deal. But what's peculiar to me is, Azerbaijan invaded Armenian territories and started committing an ethnic cleansing on Armenians in this land that is uh, not officially a part of either country, but it's in between the two countries. But Armenia has a longer stake to this land because the Armenian people are over 3,000 years old. The people of Azerbaijan, their roots are maybe 1,000 years. So, who really has claim to a land when you've been there for 2,000 years longer than the people who were also claiming that land? But they came in and uh, they removed people from their homes. They destroyed their homes. They destroyed historical and cultural landmarks in order to take over this land. And those people are not being returned to their homes. They don't get to come back to their homes. Hostages that Azerbaijan, has captured are not being released. But the piece is that they're building a road that Azerbaijan wanted through this territory, with Armenia being the one who's going to have control over the road. So I guess that's the trade off. But it doesn't really feel like peace to me unless the people that have been persecuted against are made whole. And so it feels like theater. Trump wants to be the man of peace. This is part of his propaganda campaign as somebody who's creating all these peace deals. And when you look at the DC crime and taking that over, I mean, that's kind of, again, like his sort of imperialistic attitude, where if something isn't working out in a certain place the way that he wants it to, then he's going to take control over it, whether he has true jurisdiction over that place or not. I will say that one positive thing about the Armenian Azerbaijan deal is I don't think that Azerbaijan will try to take more of Armenian land. because that would be an affront to Trump, and Trump is probably not somebody who wants to be pushed back against. So there is that. But, I'm not an expert on this area, but from what I know, from the information that I read about from Armenian news sources and people that I know who are Armenian who have lived in that country, this is what I'm hearing. And so it's, yeah, it just feels like a facade.
We've got one more to go. We're going to close out the show in the next couple of minutes. So the next and last one is, will it end? So we have a top article, not in our name. Fury grows in Israel over Netanyahu's defiant bid to finish the job in Gaza. And then there was an article out this week about the Supreme Court formally asked to overturn landmark same-sex marriage ruling. It was about a clerk who refused gay couples. And so that is actually being asked to be reviewed again, or reviewed by the Supreme Court, which, depending on what the Supreme Court decides in that could have a huge ripple effect through same-sex marriage. So keeping an eye on that, of course. So I just saw these articles and I thought, oh my God, like, how heavy is it going to get? And I hate to even say that out loud because I know it's going to get heavier. Mm-hmm. But just quickly, is there anything you want to add to this?
Neptune in Aries, idealization or ideation of like, my way is the best way. So if I want to finish the job in Gaza, then that's what I'm going to do. If I think, people the same sex shouldn't be married, then that is, the way that it should be. That is Neptune in Aries, but also, Mars in Libra. Let's remember that this conflict between Israel and Hamas or Palestine began with Mars in Libra. Mars in Libra, the god of war, is of marriage. So of course there's going to be a war on marriage here with Mars in Libra. So that's where that is showing up.
Ooh, I hadn't thought about that, Mars and Libra, and how that's connected to this ask of the Supreme Court. Ooh. Yeah, I didn't even show our chart for the moment, but yeah, we see. Look at that huge box, that big blue box in the middle of that.
Wow. Yeah, that's Pluto, Mars, Mercury, Saturn, and Neptune. Wow. And then how it comes to that point beneath the box, and there's the big triangle there. That's Uranus at the bottom.
Oh yeah,
to the bottom left. Yeah, exactly.
A big triangle, a big X. There's all kinds of things going on in there.
Yeah, a lot of tension, a lot of movement. Yep.
Interesting. Just we're gonna pull the winner for the jar here in a second. Everybody that commented live, your name went in there. I'm going to pull a winner here in just a few moments. And you have until 11:59 p.m. Pacific time tonight, August 12th, 2025, to email me at Dallisa@spiritandspark.com, and you will get a 12-month personalized tarot report that I'll put together for you. And gosh, the comments today and everybody weighing in, fascinating. We obviously can't show all of them, and some of them are a little too long to show up on the screen. But thank you, everybody that's been doing that. Just want to quickly mention a couple things on my end of what I have coming up. There are 96 people registered for Mediumship 101. So if you have not registered yet, time is of the essence. You can do that on my website, spiritandspark.com, and click on classes. That's coming up soon. August 27th is the live, but it might sell out before then. So if you've been thinking and you've been putting it off, now's the time. And then, as I teased earlier, the 10-week business accelerator, I am so excited to launch this. It is up on my website, all of the information, everything I'm going to teach you as of about an hour and a half ago. So you can go to spiritandspark.com and click on business class in the menu, add yourself to the interest list so you get notified first when those spots open up. So, Scott, obviously you are a podcaster. We talked about your Substack. What else do you want to mention for what you have cooking right now?
Well, if anyone wants to work with me, if you would like support, guidance, clarity in who you are, why you're here, what you're here to do, what's going on with these transits that we've been talking about specifically in relation to you, contact me for a reading at theweeklytransit.com. Once we've done a reading together, if you feel inspired by the work that we're doing and you would like to commit to working with me more regularly so that I can be a guide for you to support you, just mention the Cosmic Pathway when you meet with me for your reading, and I'll get into what that entails as well.
Yay! Yeah, theweeklytransit.com. Don't forget to add yourself to his email list. You get the Substack updates and reminder of this live show and everything else. So, yeah, all of the good things. Okay, let's do our drum roll for this week's winner. Ready?
Yep.
All right, this week's winner is, oh my gosh, how do you say that name? Nivathithia? Oh my gosh.
Nivathithia Gam.
That's the closest I think we're going to get to that name. And if I butchered it,
Nivathitha.
I apologize in
Yeah.
advance. But I just dropped my email address in the comments, Dallisa@spiritandspark.com. So you have until tonight to email me. So thanks, Scott, for another super awesome episode. And for everybody that joined us live, thank you for weighing in. And if you're watching the replay, drop us a comment. We'd love to say hello. And we'll be doing this again next week.
Yes. Thank you, Dallisa.
Thanks, Scott. All right. We'll see everybody later.